projects and looking forward to yet another busy next year. So anyone who ever wants to come down and take a look around, let me know. Thank you.
And I looked around, probably Danny and Mr. Windish, and she's not here yet, Sharon Williams, and Terry, who are new to this one. I would encourage you because it's the best tour that I think I've had by a government body when we went down and toured the Great Peoria Sanitary District. I know personally I learned a lot, although I can learn a lot doing many things, but it was really interesting, and I didn't know how valuable they really were because it's a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day operation, and if it closes down, we're in trouble. Anyway, how about questions for Brian? No one has any? Okay. Mr. Dillon.
Thanks, Coach. I just wanted to make a comment. I had the pleasure of taking another tour down there today on some parts that I hadn't seen before. And you're right, it is an impressive operation, and Brian's got that great crew down there and a great team. But I also want to give publicly credit where credit's due for the sanitary district, and Brian going to above lengths more so than needed to be probably. But in almost 18 years on the county board, I've never gotten a call in regards to the sanitary district. And I had a, not in my area, but a Peoria County resident call about the sanitary district due to the pseudo relationship that we have in the appointments. And unfortunately, there a 91-year-old lady had some backup in the house through an insurance program, had somebody come out. She unfortunately signed a contract that was presented to her without her understanding, and the contractor, not from this area but with a relationship from this area, tried getting her to sign it, basically threatened her that she owed $20,000. So when I called Brian to inquire about it, Brian and his team had already been on it, called in the contractor to have conversations with them. But there was a lot of things wrong in the scenario, and Brian actually went above and beyond to call the contractor in, and unfortunately she's still going to be out some money. I don't think it's going to quite be his amount of money. He had already talked to the insurance agent and other people, but instead of just saying that that's somebody else's problem, no worries, the sanitary district was trying to watch out for an elderly person, which unfortunately happens more often than not when people sign contracts to come in. So publicly, I know I've thanked you privately, Brian, but publicly I wanted to thank you, and hopefully this can all work out.
Thank you.
Thank you for that information, Jimmy, and thank you for Brian for acting so quickly for our people. Okay, we got Mark up next with our facilities master plan and anything else he wants to tell us about our county.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you'll notice, several projects have moved down to the completed phase, so things are getting finished up, and we've added a few more to the new projects. I'll start at the top of the list at the jail. The roof replacement project continues to be a work in progress and ongoing. The ring road is going to go out for bid later this winter, early spring. Those final RFP is being worked on by Midwest Engineering. The jail tuck pointing the phase 1 was completed for the year. Phase 2, which is funded in the capital plan, will be worked on next spring. So we moved to the JDC, the boiler replacement, which was paid for with the gas incentive funds. The boiler, I'm told, has been installed and just needs fired up and moved to operations. So That's almost completed. There's a new one on the list here that is coming before you guys today, and that's a sprinkler head replacement project at the JDC that we will talk about in a few minutes. And then the roof replacement project is ongoing there. If we move to the courthouse, our biggest project left and the only really one on the list to finish this year at the courthouse is the roof replacements. They've been working on them, both sides. The one over on Hamilton, they've got the initial work done. As you notice, there's no equipment over there. They've got to come back and do the final pieces on that, in the same way with here in the lower roof. So we're hoping warms up later in the week, and they can continue to get those completed and finished up. There's a few new courthouse projects that have just kicked off. That is the circuit clerk and treasurer office remodel projects and the emergency protection and family justice center projects. There's been initial kickoff meetings with those with the architects. I think if any update or timeline on those, either Mr. Sorrell or Calvin can update you on those. I'm actually not participating in those projects. And the other one is at County Highway. There's several replacement of multiple buildings out there. And that kickoff meeting has occurred. So, and any update on those, either Mr. Sorrell or Calvin can update you on those. Any questions?
No questions? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And we're going to move into our resolutions. And the first resolution, as you see, that we have has to do with the Duncan Bridge project that is in the northwestern part of our county, and we need a motion to put this on the floor. Motion by Betty, seconded by Matt.
This is for the Duncan Road Bridge, which is about 2.5 miles northwest of Princeville. It's just a half mile south of the Stark County line. The bridge is a 3-span bridge built out of precast pre-stressed concrete deck beams. It's 96 foot long, carries 275 vehicles per day. I guess predominantly most of them are farm related. 2021, we found some cracks and things we didn't like, and the bridge had to be load posted. We have federal funding available for the year of 2024 to repair the bridge. We're going to replace the deck beams, replace the slope wall underneath, and some new guardrail and new wider shoulders. We're looking at $1 million cost for the bridge construction. The federal funds will account for 80% of it. So this resolution will appropriate $200,000 from the county bridge fund for our share of the project.
And this will be completed in '24.
Yes, sir.
Bid is going to be in January?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone with questions for Jeff? Okay, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to our second resolution. I think, Jeff, you're going to handle this one as well.
Yep.
And we need a motion to put the second resolution on. Motion by Sharon, seconded by Betty. Okay.
This is an older project that was originally approved by the board in 2019. IDOT replaced the bridge on Bell School Road over I-74, and when they started designing the project, they asked us if we wanted to extend the resurfacing a portion onto our jurisdiction, a portion of our jurisdiction, and which we agreed to. We received the final invoice a few weeks ago, which was $15,395.93. We had originally appropriated $12,285 based on their estimate. So prices came in a little higher, or maybe they had to do a little more work. But this resolution will appropriate an additional $3,110.93 from the county motor fuel tax fund, so we can pay the final invoice.
Questions for Jeff? as you heard him say, you know, we dealt with this earlier. We thought the bill was paid, but then they came in with a little bit more money, because we had already given them $12,000.
No, we had appropriated it. We had not received any bill
Oh,
from them yet.
we had not.
No,
Okay,
but on a project like this where we only have a small amount, they usually just send us one invoice at the end.
understand.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for correcting me. If there's no questions or comments in regard to this, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Jeff. And our third resolution has to do with the farm that we own, and we need a motion on that one. Motion by Terry, seconded by Jimmy Dillon. All right, go ahead.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Chairman.
Mark.
So coming in front of you today is a change to an existing lease we have on what we call our Maxwell Plank Road Farm. That is farmland that is located out on the jail property and behind County Highway. It is also two small pieces of land that are between the Maxwell Road connector to 474. And this actually has to do with those two small pieces of land. Back in 2021, we put out for bid that those pieces of land is one chunk of 155 acres. And that bid was awarded in December of 2021 by the board. And that was a 3-year bid for 2022, 2023, and 2024 growing seasons. There was also, back in 2018, a lease signed on the two smaller pieces, which is in your map, that was for the ground-based solar. And that had not come to fruition yet, so we went ahead and leased the farm out. Well, now that's come to fruition, and they're ready to start construction next year. So working with the state's attorney's office, this is a change to that agreement with the current farmer who has the lease to remove the 21.42 acres of tillable land from the existing lease, but give them an additional year for the farm lease out to 2025. So.
Questions, Jim?
And I don't know if this is for Mark, Jenny, or Scott, and this is probably the right approach as a softer to extend it, but I find it hard to believe that is that something that we had to do to extend it? And I think it's the right approach to extend it for a year, so I'm not bad-mouthing, but I would have thought that in 2018 when we approved the solar, we would have had an out clause in those contracts for those parcel 2 and parcel 3, knowing that it could have been built if they got the recs. It could have been built almost 2 years ago if those recs had came through. I'm not saying that this is a much nicer, softer, like working with the farmer, but I can't believe our contract wouldn't have had an out clause where we would not owe anybody anything for breaking that lease.
It did not.
Okay. I just found that surprising, though.
But aren't we going to make more money
From the solar?
from
No.
the solar than we're going to?
We're going to make quite a bit more, but I
Yeah.
just, knowing that the timeline, 18 is when we entered solar, after that was the lease agreement, knowing that those two parcels were already potentially, and we've been getting paid a fee for nothing from the solar developer too, right, on those?
Not that I'm aware.
I thought we were
Not
getting
that
paid
I'm aware of.
a retainer on top of it.
Yeah, it's we have been receiving a pretty small retainer from Trajectory Energy for, if you look in your packet, there's a map for the parcels that are shown as number 2 and number 3 on page 45 of the packet. They're outlined in red. That is, this was just stated. When the solar project goes live after this construction season of 24, then the rent payments will significantly outpace what we were getting in rental income from the farmer.
Other questions? Okay, all those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mark, and we got the next resolution. I think you're involved in that one as well. So the next one has to do with dealing with some sprinkler heads at the JDC, and we need a motion to put this on the floor. Motion by Betty, thank you. Seconded by Terry. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a request to approve the installation of approximately 222, I believe it is, tamper-proof sprinkler heads out at the Juvenile Detention Center. Since 2021, we've had issues with the residents there breaking off sprinkler heads. And when that occurs, of course, there's a whole lot of water that ends up on the floor, and the HVAC systems all shut down, and all that has to be cleaned up. We've had 6 different issues in the last 2 years with that. And so after some investigation and looking, there is a new, what they call a tamper-proof sprinkler head that is a flush mount that is tamper-proof. So we went out for bid for that, and we had one local bid from PIPCO on that. So this is the approval to move forward with the replacement of those sprinkler heads out there.
My question to Scott when we were discussing these items was that it was going to be a tamper-proof. I don't know, being around teenagers, I don't know if there's anything that's tamper-proof. We're going to find out. Any other questions or comments? Betty?
Will the replacements, will they be just where the residents are, or, okay, just only where they're, not where the
Yes, we're only
office
going to
is?
replace those in areas where there are residents.
Just where the residents are, okay.
Yes.
We did include a little contingency fund in this, just so everybody knows.
Yes.
Coach?
Yes, Terry.
Mark, how long has this particular project been on our facilities master plan?
This just came up this year as a more of an issue that we needed a resolution to. As you can see, we had a few issues in 2022, and then finally it hit us again later this year. So after discussions, I was asked to put together an RFP to go out for a permanent fix for this. So it really wasn't on the plan as a project. It came as a fix to a solution. So
It seems that we have had a lot of discussion in the previous year relative to the facilities master plan, and with the knowledge that we didn't have enough money to complete the things that had already been prioritized. I'm not sure I'm doing my math correct, but we're going to spend $93,000 to save under $9,000 in damages that we've had. And it strikes me that when a new project comes along, it ought to get prioritized against all the stuff that's on the list. And this somehow rose to the top of the list pretty rapidly, it seems. I'm just not totally comfortable that this project is vetted compared to the priorities that have already been set. I know that's not your responsibility. However, I do think when those kind of things happen, I mean, this strikes me we should have this through committee before we're voting to appropriate the money for it. I'm not against tamper-proof sprinkler heads by any stretch, but I am definitely in favor of a fluid process by which we prioritize a new project before it beats out something that's been on our list for a year. And I know there's, not only in this room, but when this horseshoe is filled, there's a lot of people wondering, you know, when is the, you know, the shed gonna get built out at the Highway North Yard? When is, you know, any one of those projects gonna get done? My gut feeling here is that we should take a minute with these projects and prioritize them. So for the moment, I'm gonna abstain from this until I see where it fits into that list.
Yes, Jimmy?
Well, Mark, I guess the total costs that are down here, so for the $8,900 basically, that's from one experience, right? That's not from all 6 experiences total.
That's the total we've had from all 6. I got that information from Ryan Breedlove, who oversees the juvenile detention. So I asked him for an estimate on what he had spent out of his budget so far each time one of these occurrences happened.
I guess I was reading that as a one-time for an experience, because steam green to come clean, sanitize, or any of that other stuff and get the moisture out, that's usually $3 to $5 grand just to show up.
I could follow up with him on that, but that's the number he gave me, so.
It does seem like a bargain, doesn't it? Now, that could be that it's in a small, confined area. They can only break one sprinkler head off. Assuming that doesn't activate all the other sprinkler heads when one goes, when there's a pressure drop, then, like I said, this seems like a bargain, and I would still abstain until we have clear information, if that's the case. If in fact this is one incident, it starts to make a lot more sense to do this, but at this point, we don't know that.
Yeah, and I guess I would say in my role as chair, I did know that this was coming just due to the fact of one incident turned into multiple incidents in 2022, and then 3 already in 23, where obviously it's known among the population or the residents that this is a way to get a, I don't know, proper attention or whatever, but it has caused a disruption of the facility where I guess maybe 30 years ago when they built these that you didn't put tamper-proof.
I was told they weren't available at that time.
But I do understand the question though, Terry, of prioritizing and how do things go up. But I will take fault in this one. I did know this one was coming forward, and it made sense why.
If it turns out that the total estimated cost is $8,900 times 6 incidents, and we can safely project more incidents to take place heading into the next year, then this makes an awful lot of sense. But for whichever reason, whether it's either a bad deal or it's low priority compared to other projects, or we just don't have enough information, accurate information, whatever the case might be, I have 3 reasons to abstain. So.
The chair was conferring with our legal counsel, and you do have a right to choose not to vote. Any other questions or comments on this? All those in favor of adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the resolution is adopted. What? Did anybody else abstain? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Yes, 6. Okay, thank you for waiting for me. Let's move on to the public comment. Do we see anybody in the room with public comment? No public comment? Moving on to miscellaneous. Does anybody have anything for miscellaneous? Okay, nothing for miscellaneous. We have something possibly for a special meeting. I've been informed that by our director of the highway garage, and she says that there may be a purchase that she may have to make, and so be aware, and we may have that. I know at our regular board meeting we're going to have a little Christmas get together, but we can fit it in, I think, if she needs it. Being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.